Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and oh my god! You did not misread that title. This is happening. Bleach Spinoff series going down. Holy crap, I almost had a heart attack when this information dropped. Actually, I did have a heart attack, had to be rushed to the hospital, defibrillated, and they told me not to talk about Bleach for at least 2 weeks until I recovered. But you know what? Screw them, right? Okay, so, I don't know what I was expecting when Bleach was ending, when it was, like, in the process of ending back in last summer. I guess I figured that, maybe the anime would come back, that would be the one thing that what seemed logical to happen, after the manga ended. But I also thought, in the back of my head, maybe Kubo, of course he's gonna take a break, he's gonna go away for maybe a few years, and then he's gonna come back with another story, another series, but I did not expect it to be a spin-off, and I did not expect it to be this freaking soon. He's getting right back to it, picking up his pen and getting right to it, man, let me tell you. Okay, so, and it's about a character that I think needs a lot of attention. It's a character many of you might be thinking is a joke character, a character that doesn't get a lot of a mention in the story, especially in the last arc, but I think it's the perfect situation. And once I explain to you the premise of this story, I think you're going to be on board, even if you're not right now. This is going to be a spin-off story of Bleach focused on Yasutaro Sato. That's right, we're getting a Chad spin-off, okay? Now, I know what you might be thinking, who cares about Chad? You know what? Chad, he started off as an epic character. Did you ever read the early arcs of Bleach? Early Chad was so cool. I mean, he blocked a freaking steel girder, falls right on his back, and he just doesn't care. Had an awesome moment, picked up a freaking telephone pole, swatted Shrieker out of the sky. I think Kubo always wanted to do something more with Chad, and we just never had that. And maybe the editors were telling him, no more Chad, no one cares about him, move on. But he's always been, if you've ever read any of other Kubo's works behind Bleach, before Bleach, like Zombie Powder, he's always liked the Spanish kind of character, right? So this makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the premise of the story, get ready for this. Okay, so do you guys know at the end of Bleach chapter 686, when we had that 10-year jump into the future, and you see Chad being a world-class boxer? He was in like the title match for the professional boxing league, and everyone was sitting there like, Chad was a boxer? That seems kind of weird. That kind of came out of nowhere. He was never really seen being interested in boxing up to this point, so I think that was the perfect opportunity to explain the details of how that went. How did Chad go from, just a high school tough guy, fighting against hollows in his spare time, to how did he become a world-class boxer? That is the story that we need to know, okay? So this manga, named Puños de Pasión, which is Spanish for the Fists of Passion. I don't know Spanish very well, but this is how it's read anyway. Okay, so it takes place 2 years after the end of Bleach, okay? So 2 years after the defeat of Yuha, that would make Chad around 19 years old. And it actually ties back a lot into Chad's past, So remember, Chad's grandfather that basically taught him how to live his life. He was growing up in Mexico with his grandfather, Oscar Joaquin de la Rosa, and then eventually he passed away, and then Chad ended up in Japan. I think we're going to get a lot more explanation on his backstory, like what happened with Chad's parents in greater detail, what really he learned from his grandfather. But at any rate, Oscar Joaquin de la Rosa, Chad's grandfather, passed away, and then Chad went to Japan where the adventure happened with, during the events of Bleach. This spin-off that takes place 2 years later will have including of a new character, Sebastian de la Rosa, which is actually Oscar's younger brother, right? So he had a brother. This would make him Chad's uncle, I guess, in that case, his grandfather's younger brother, who's actually going to become his boxing manager, actually going to teach him about boxing and getting him into this world, and it's going to teach him how to really, how to fight this way, because Chad's used to fighting, with his freaking full bring and his hollow powers and shooting energy beams anywhere. We need it's going to be a sports manga. It's good. That's what this is going to be. Are you not pumped for this Taito Kubo sports manga about boxing with Chad being the main character? This is going to be cool. All right, so the basic premise, we know we don't know everything too much, but the basic premise, although I will say Kubo gave us a pretty decent amount of information with this, it could have, a lot of times it's just like, oh, there's this new series coming out in Shonen Jump or whatever, but no, we got a cool color spread here, and we got some sketches, some rough sketches of the new characters that I'm going to be showing you here in a second. This is all on a link in the description below if you want to go check out that. But yeah, I think it's because Kubo is such a well-known author, even though the ratings for Bleach maybe dipped a little bit, you know, near the end of the story. You know how that went. But I still think that he has some vigor in him, and I still think the writers and maybe thought, you know what, let's give him a little bit more room to breathe. You know, let's try to get him back in the situation, maybe to gauge the response from the audience and see if they're really into this, right? Which I think every Bleach fan should be immediately on board with this new sports manga, Puños de Pasión. Okay, so essentially, after Chad learns how to box, I guess, from Sebastian, his younger, and this is part of the main cast, by the way, he's going to go off on a tour of the world, you know, learning how to box, going to different boxing competitions. You know, I'm not a boxer. I mean, I've seen Rocky. That's the Rocky series. That's basically all the information I know about boxing. But I'm certain there's different leagues you go through and stuff, maybe like a lightweight, heavyweight. I don't know how this whole thing works. But we get an introduction to some other characters that are going to eventually become part of the main cast, okay? So the first one is this guy, and this is Jack Walker. This is a rough sketch of him. And Jack is an Australian boxer that's going to be Chad's rival throughout the series, right? So he's going to be there. He also is harboring a mysterious power in his own right. I think that's a lot of the questions that people had at the end of Bleach. You know, that's the question I had anyway. Chad is a professional boxer now. Who the hell is he boxing? Because Chad is not the strongest character, not even the strongest of, like, you know, the main cast, excluding Ichigo. You know, probably Uryu's way stronger than him. But to a regular human, an ordinary human, one punch from Chad, like, he's fucking Saitama. Like, one punch from Chad, and that's it. So how the hell did he, you know, it's like he's either cheating or he's not using his powers, but even if Chad became the world heavyweight champion without using his powers, that's kind of disingenuous, you know, like not even close to his full ability. So maybe that makes sense. There's maybe other people that use unique abilities. Maybe it's Fullbring, maybe there are other Quincy's, maybe actually we're going to get a Quincy later on, and I'm super pumped for that character, but I'm saving that for the last because, oh my god, I'm so happy Kubo brought that character back amongst everybody else. But yeah, maybe there's like other characters in the boxing league that use mysterious powers like Fullbring that can actually contend with Chad's power. And I don't know exactly how that would work, you know, in a public sporting event. But keep in mind, Bleach is also, you know, creative licenses, you know, taking place in another universe, similar to our universe, but not exactly. So maybe you can bend it around a little bit. Maybe there'll be like an underground boxing section, you know, where Chad, you know, normal boxing when it comes to actually in the ring with all the people, but then like an underground boxing world where everybody has, like, you know, you figure there'd be more than just a few people that had Fullbring, right? I mean, Kubo doesn't come out right and say that Jack has a Fullbring. He just says it's a mysterious power. But, you know, it could be a Fullbring. He could have other abilities, and you know, it's a big world. It's opening it up to a bunch of different areas. Kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know, traveling all over the world, getting different countries included in this. So Jack's a pretty interesting character. Kind of reminds me of Basby a little bit. He has the piercings and he has the hair. It's kind of like a rough dude, you know. But yeah, it seems he's drinking some form of alcohol here. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I don't know. I feel like he's kind of like the rough, you know, sort of guy. You know, I'm a rough rival. You know, maybe he turns out to have a heart of gold later on, but you know, that's just how it is. But there's another character I'm very interested in, Isabella Ferreira. I wrote this down. Ferreira. I don't know. It's Brazilian, I guess. But yeah, she's from Brazil, and she's going to be another rival of Chad as part of this boxing world too. So she looks pretty fucking hot, if I do say so myself. I like the abs going on. That's pretty cool. I like the braided in the hair there. So yeah, she's going to be from Brazil. So it's really getting in. I don't know if it's going to be like Chad goes to Mexico to meet Sebastian and then goes to Brazil and then goes to Australia. I don't know how this is going to work, or they're just, you know, all these boxers are pulling together in one place to fight. I don't know how Chad's going to meet all these characters, but these characters are these just comprise the main cast. So we're probably going to get, you know, seeing these guys within the first 10, 20 chapters of the story. So I don't know how it's going to be laid out exactly, but that's the case. Of course, we have Chad in the middle there who, you know, looks like he regressed a little bit back to his original. Well, keep in mind, at the end of Bleach, you know, that was 10 years later. He had his hair, you know, back and everything. So we're eventually going to get to that point, but this is only 2 years after. So he has a basic appearance as he did at the end of Bleach. You know, Chad's not really one to change his appearance all that much. You know, he's Chad. So we got, you know, Sebastian, we got Jack, we got Isabella, and we got Chad, of course, Yasutaro Sato. And then we have the last character. Now, you know, I think Kubo let this deliberately open, but I can maybe shed some life on it. Okay, the last character is going to be a Quincy character that we've already met so far, the former Sternritter P, Meninus McAllen. Okay, now, you might be thinking, that is so freaking random. Why would you include Meninas here? I mean, she was just a Quincy. That she was part of the Sternritter clique with like Bambietta, sorry, and Candace, you know, and Latato. So it's like, why her? You know, and she was just kind of taken off screen. The last time we saw Meninas, she was possessed by Pepe's love beam. She hulked out and she punched Latato in the face. Later on, you hear Latato say to Giselle, like, oh, I dealt with Meninas accordingly, but it was never mentioned that she was killed. It was never mentioned that she was, you know, eliminated or anything like that. So maybe Latato used some power just to knock her ass out, or some such like that. You know, Latato, we didn't even really get that much into her powers. You know, she could eat things. She was the glutton, but that was pretty much, we don't know how that meant. And I don't think she was like straight up cold-blooded to just kill her friend. I mean, maybe she would have been, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Meninas is alive, and I guess she managed to find a way out of the Seirete and get to the real world where she's just kind of living, you know, she's a former member of the Sternritter that's now living in the real world, right? And now remember, Meninas, we didn't really get much from her personality, which is another good thing for why she's featured here in this spin-off series. We get a little bit more into her, you know, introspection, you know, maybe how come she joined a Sternritter and stuff. She was always seen as sort of like the Valley Girl kind of character. You know, whenever they were talking about what reward they would get from Yuha after defeating Ichigo, she imagined like this immaculate like mansion with like all the glittery gold stuff, and she seemed like the kind of girl that you'd see hanging out at the mall all the time, you know, spending out the ass with her credit cards or stuff, getting all the expensive stuff. So you might be thinking, you know, why would she become a boxer? Well, in my perspective, that actually makes a lot of sense. Her Sternritter power was P, the power, physical strength. You know, she looks like a dainty girl that really isn't that strong, but she can lift up giant buildings, you know. And then she has another power that we showed when she fought against Latato after she got her, you know, the love beam got hit by her. She can actually increase her actual muscle mass. So I could see, you know, any normal opponent would be easy for her. So I could see her maybe landing or escaping from the Seirete somehow. Maybe she used the Sun Gate. I don't exactly know how that worked. That has to be explained a little bit. That's kind of a glaring issue. You know, what happened to her with Latato, and then how did she get to the world of the living? But then after she got there, maybe she didn't have any money or whatever, and she figured, well, she still had her Sternritter power. Because remember, even though the whole shit with Yuha happened, that doesn't mean their powers were removed. Yuha even did the Holy Selection, which probably affected Meninas. You know, it affected Candace and Nanana and everybody like that. But it affected Basby, and Basby was still able to keep his H powers, the heat, that he used to fight against Hashwolf. So getting the Holy Selection done to you doesn't mean that you're going to lose all your Sternritter power. It just means you can't go into your release form. So Meninas doesn't have a Voltständig, but that doesn't mean that she still can't use her power ability. And I think Meninas, she did use her Voltständig, but it wasn't very long. It just, like, she used her wings and that was it. It wasn't, like, directly tied with her muscle power. So, yeah, I could see her being on Earth, needing some money, and then fooling a bunch of guys to being like, hey, let's, like Gon in that episode of Hunter x Hunter, where he was doing the arm wrestling shit. He's like, yeah, let's do arm wrestling, you know? Okay, win, you know? And then that's how she gets money, and she figured, oh, I'm gonna join the boxing circuit, and I'll have all this money, and then I won't have to worry about it. But maybe she'll have a change of heart. She's part of the main cast, so she's a good guy. I wanted to say, I love this double spread. You know, we have the main cast there on the left, and on the right, you have the introduction and, you know, all the stuff, like new series by Taito Kubo, former mangaka of Bleach and everything like that. But oh, by the way, there's a secret message in the picture, and I want to see what you get. I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a secret message in the picture with the characters, so see if you can spot that. But also, on the right, it's actually a design from Chad's Fullbring, his Brazo de Gigante, his right arm of the giant. And so we don't know if he's probably still going to have the same basic abilities, but maybe they get heightened to a little bit. You know, we don't really know with Chad, you know, so he trained to get to Hueco Mundo so he could help Ichigo, and that's when he had his real right arm and real left arm. That's when his powers awoke. But after that, we don't really get much more than that. He met with Ginjo, but his powers didn't seem to really increase that much with Fullbring, and then I guess he trained a little bit during the final arc, but Chad did so little in the final arc. You know, he showed up, you know, manhandled Ichigo around, and by the way, I remember when Chad showed up at chapter 586 and 587 when him and Orihime showed up. That was one with the title page with Orihime's tits all over the place, which, by the way, I hope Orihime doesn't make a cameo in this new series. I mean, do it right, Kubo. You have Chad, you have Meninas, let's not make this into a Bleach. You know, maybe that's one of the reasons why we're traveling the world, we're globe-trotting, to stay away from Japan, because, like, hey, what's Uryu doing? You know, we don't need to know that. I could see if it stands on its own, but in that chapter, I remember I made a joke that was something like along the lines of Chad beating down Ichigo to kind of motivate him to get back up to fight against Yuha and accept that Uryu is not really a bad guy. And there was a scene I remember photoshopping with, you know, Chad in front of the Bleach logo, like, I'm the main character now, Ichigo. Maybe Kubo saw my video. Maybe he saw it and he was like, I think this Tekking kid, I think he's going somewhere. I think we actually have something doing here. That seems pretty freaking cool, am I right? So yeah, I'm just checking right here. Hold on, let me just pull up to see if I'm missing anything here. I don't want to, you know, because, I mean, I'm going to make a proper video about this, but I just found out about this, like, now, and I'm so pumped. Like, I couldn't, like, I'm it's kind of busy downstairs. I can't make a video right now, but I'm expect a video later on sometime, probably tomorrow, about this. But I think I pretty much covered everything. There's the rough sketches. There's the thing there. Chad's power, wonder. So what do you guys think, though? What do you guys think about the introduction of Sebastian? Which his character looks pretty cool. He's got the scruff going on, smokes cigars like Oscar did, you know, and it's interesting because Oscar always taught Chad how to use his, you know, you should never use your fists, you know, you should only use them in self-defense, basically. And now here we have the boxing thing. So maybe his younger brother had a different philosophy, or maybe Chad has a different philosophy now, maybe coming into himself here. He's thinking of Jack, who's going to be Chad's rival. I guess Isabella's also going to be his rival in a sense. You know, we'll see how that works. You know, maybe Chad will even find love in this. I don't know. Maybe he will. And I think Kubo's really just taking advantage of stuff that he loves. You know, like I said, he's always been a fan of the Spanish Latino motif. If you ever read Zombie Powder, that's very prevalent there. A lot of Latino kind of names and a lot of like desert scenery. So maybe that's him going back to that. Like, you know what? I've always wanted to write a manga with this kind of aesthetic and tone. So that's what I want to do. Maybe he's going into sports manga because, you know, heighten your horizons. He's always been kind of into direct battle shonen manga. Let's go into sports manga. Let's see what we got here. I want to see a Chad boxing training montage. You know, I want to see him getting into some serious battles here. You know, punches, you know, sweat drops flying all over the place. It's going to be pretty cool. We have Meninas for sex appeal. I mean, this is going to be amazing, and I am super pumped for this. We don't have a release date yet, but we know it's coming. I hope you guys are excited as I am for this Bleach spinoff, Puños de Pasión. You guys get ready, because we're going into high gear here. I mean, I'll still review One Piece and everything like that, but I'm just glad we have other stuff to talk about now. I mean, every chapter review is going to be intense. I don't even care if it screws up with my schedule. I'm doing it. One Piece and Puños de Pasión. Who knows? It might even be a monthly series. I don't know. I don't even know yet. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. What is your most highest expectation for Puños de Pasión? What do you expect to see from Chad? You know, if he's going to maybe unlock a greater power or something like that. I don't even know. It's just great. It's just great. Maybe Bleach characters will appear as cameos. I don't know. It's pretty fun, though. It's pretty cool. I'm glad this is happening. So anyway, thanks you guys for watching. Tekking101 signing out. So good to talk about Bleach again, guys. This is going to be great. James is going to have fun with this one. I can guarantee you. All right, later, guys.